Tuesday, September 15, 2015, Papillion City Council meeting to order. Mrs. Butler, would you please take the roll?
Florence. Here. Mumgard. Here. Gaines. Here. Glover. Here. Jaworski. Here. Klug. Here. Stubbe. Here. Ingberg. Here.
We've got Troop 60 from the American Legion with us. It's going to help lead the pledges of allegiance. You guys want to come forward? Thank you very much. Do we have an affidavit of publication on file?
That is correct.
And a current copy of the Open Meeting Act is posted in the back of the council chambers. We've got a special presentation tonight. If you're aware, we have mayor's an art council that was created a number of years ago, and it's had a pretty stable membership. It's been led by Ken Moser most of the time, if not all of the time. And just to try to understand the importance of public art and the role we have and that type of thing. And they've been doing a great work. And the current members are Ken Moser as the chair, Matt DeBoer, Nicole Raphael, Beth Ragland, Chuck Wilcox, and Jim Shaw. One of the ideas they had, and we were talking, is how to honor people that are maybe doing some things with arts in the community. And they came up with the idea of a Mayor Arts Award. And so we actually want to give the first ones tonight. And we're going to give 3 of them, and they fall into a similar theme. If you think of downtown and all the work we've been doing the last 4 to 5 to 6 years to try to get people to recognize downtown as an important, viable area and restore that, we've been doing a lot of work from a planning perspective. We've had some major investment down there. We've had a lot of small businesses that have committed, and a lot of those are local Papillion people that decided to start businesses. The Historical Downtown Papillion Business Association came together a couple of years ago, and this year when Money Magazine gave us the number 2 ranking, they specifically made reference to downtown and the viability and how it's coming around. A big part of that has been public art. We put in the art gallery in City Hall about 3 years ago, and that's under the Arts Council, and they curate the art through that, and that's specifically for Papillion artists. So I think the awareness that arts is in Papillion, we have nationally or regionally recognized artists in Papillion, that whole awareness is coming up because of their work. City Hall has always had public art and bring art in and out of the library as well. So now we have it in the library, we have it in City Hall, but there's also a couple of small businesses that just as part of their practice display public art. You can go into Tri-Point Coffee House at any point in time and the whole wall is displayed with art, and they rotate it as well. And I think people are starting to see downtown Papillion as a place to come partially because of the arts. And so 3 of the folks we want to recognize tonight, I'll give a brief overview and then call them up. Dingman's Collision Center, other than it does a nice job painting cars, which might be a piece of art. You wouldn't think of a collision center and arts, but see what Boyd did with that building. Huge thank you to him just for what he did with the building and cleaned it up. But if you haven't been in the collision center, I encourage you to go in. He basically kept the whole front of that building and made it a little bit of a gallery. He's got a really neat curved wall where he's got some historical pictures and art pictures that are framed and put up there. And once a month he'll bring in a working artist or a number of artists, and they actually work and do their work inside the collision center painting, and they open it up. And so he's done a lot there, and he has also sponsored music, which is an art form, in the Papillion Farmers Market this year. So Boyd is really invested in this community, and a lot of that has been around arts, and he brings people down to Papillion because of the arts aspect of his business. So we want to recognize Boyd Dingman. Boyd? Next one, and I'd already mentioned them once, is Tri Point Coffee House. When we talked about downtown and trying to revitalize that, they were really probably one of the first newer businesses. We've got a lot of older businesses, 30 years and plus, that have been invested downtown and have been the foundation. But as far as the first business that took the risk and came to Papillion, it was Tri Point. Long story behind them, and we learned a lot about encouraging small business in a downtown area. Once they got in, they didn't have the easiest process because of building codes and modern building codes applied to old buildings. And if you would have asked them shortly after that, after they opened, would you do it again? I think the honest answer would have been no. And a lot of that is because of the unexpected expenses to open up that facility. But they have been a very important part of downtown, bringing people down and encouraging other small business. And I don't know if you remember, a couple of years ago, we actually adopted tweak to our building standards, and it was because of the lessons learned with Tri Point. So again, a huge thanks to them. Chris and Heather Evanson own that. But in addition to coffee, I'd already mentioned it, they've got walls, and they're almost look like the original brick walls from when that was the Papillion times. A really cool building. And they rotate art on a very regular basis through there from artists around the around the region. So again, people come down here because of what Tri Point is doing with art. So we want to recognize the Evansons as well. They also have, I forgot to mention, at one side of their building's actually a congregating area. You probably get 120 people in there maybe. And so they actually have performance arts down there too. It's not unusual to go down there and hear a little concert going on with that space too. So Heather? And last is the Twisted Vine, one of the newer businesses down there. I think what showed us that downtown revitalization is really working is the old hardware store. After 35 years, they decided to retire. And if it would have been 3 years earlier, I think that hardware store would have stayed vacant for quite a while. But the way it was, because of the way things were starting to occur down there, I think it was only vacant for maybe 90 days. And Bill and Kara opened up the Twisted Vine, and again, a local Papillion couple had a dream and a vision and opened up the Twisted Vine, and they are bringing lots of people downtown with their business. And they just had an event the other day, and I think I'm going to guess a third of the people that came to that event probably had never been to Papillion, and another third were Papillion people who were down there, but you'll look around, they said, I don't remember the last time I was downtown, and I had no clue that this stuff was down here. So they're making a huge difference, but their contribution to the arts, a little bit different. It's not public art. They actually do art. One of the aspects of what they do are painting classes. So again, people will travel around the region to come down to learn about the arts and actually walk away with a piece of art too. So, Kara? Just wrap up real quick. Brian Craig with the building department is the staff liaison to the Arts Council and helps curate the art gallery. And Ken Mulzer, who's the chair, is here as well. So both of you, thank you very much. I think we can now talk a little bit about how arts actually has an economic development impact. So even if you're not into the arts, it's got a tangible benefit. So thank you again. Mr. Hoynes, Administrator's report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Begin my report this evening by observing that in a couple of minutes you'll vote on the last set of bills for the current fiscal year. All things being equal and no changes, we anticipate that each and every department will come in under budget, the authorized appropriation that you provided them throughout their year. That's not a big surprise. In 15 years, I think there's been one time where one department went slightly over, and I think that, and I bring that to your attention, that's a real credit to those department heads. They manage their budgets pretty much by themselves with a little oversight from the mayor and I. and they pay close attention. They treat it like their own personal account most days. So if you see them, thank them. And I think it's also important to point out that there'll be several $100,000 that will come back that went unspent. They don't go to year-end spending and try to spend down, and that actually is what builds our cash reserve policies within the city. So that will transfer over. So I know I personally appreciate they make my job very, very easy when it comes to that particular aspect. And as we know far too well, many cities struggle, and that's the area they struggle in. But just doesn't happen here. Also, from an operational perspective, we've been in transition here for a couple of years now with the police and fire department staffing wise. Certainly the fire with adding 12 officers and taking over the La Vista operations, the police department with a change in Chief Alous and a couple of retirements, but we just this week made the final offers to make our police and fire departments fully authorized at their complement. I may miss by one or two because I didn't confirm with the chiefs, but I think that leaves us with a total of 57 firefighters and 40 police officers. And mind the difference being, too, that the fire serves a far greater area in the city of La Vista, so they obviously would need more than that. But again, you often read where many organizations are way below their authorized strengths, but credit to those two chiefs and their support staff for making sure that this community has the public safety that you've authorized on any given time. So a gentle reminder, the 84th Street Bridge will be closed at 6 p.m. on Friday. Marty Lemming said at the staff meeting this morning that it will be open by the time I get to work on Monday, but probably not by the time he gets to work Monday morning. So sometime between 4 a.m. and 9 a.m. that bridge will be open. Certainly we think around 6 a.m. But then that project, that portion of 84th Street will be buttoned up. I'll conclude, Mr. Mayor, with two dates of importance. I did mention last time that October 12th out at the amphitheater will be an employee appreciation event. You'll be receiving invitations for both of these. And finally, the date for the ribbon cutting of the new public works facility has been set for October 30th. We don't have a time narrowed in yet, but it will be on October 30th. And again, we will give you more formal invitations, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of advance notice of those two particular things. That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion by Councilman Ingberg. Second by Councilman Gaines. Do we have any proponents? Do we have any opponents? Any council discussion? Mr. Mumgard.
Yes, I'd like to remove C7 from the consent agenda.
C7?
That would be the Keno lottery agreement.
C7 is pulled. Mr. Stubbe.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to ask a question with regard to the trail. I know that this is just essentially a concurrence of the bid that was taken through the Department of Roads. I know that the contractor that's being awarded this particular contract is TAB. They've done a lot of work for the city. I guess I'm just wondering, as far as this particular project, when it's supposed to start, when it's supposed to end, and kind of an idea as far as how they're doing on the other two projects. So.
Very good question, and just because people do watch this, if they're wondering what that reference is, it's the contractor that's doing the work on 84th Street. We get a lot of public comments because the perception is it's a very slow project. It's such a large project and complicated. There's times that there's just equipment sitting there and it looks like nothing's happening, so we do get a lot of negative feedback. So I'm assuming their question might be in reference to that and their qualifications.
That, and also the other project I think the TAB did, which was the trail along 72nd Street.
Trail on 72nd recently.
Did they comply with that schedule?
Mr. Thompson, can you reply?
Yeah, as far as the 72nd Street Trail project goes, TAB did perform within the confines of the contract. It was a 45 working day contract, which essentially means when there's rain delays and work can't be performed, they're not charged a day for working. So they have performed within the confines of that particular contract. As far as 84th Street goes, we continue to meet weekly on Monday mornings with that contractor and their staff, subconsultants and contractors. They assure us that they will be done within the confines of the contract, which is November 21st of this year. There have been challenges with utility relocations and other outside issues out of their control, but they have been performing better here recently, and I think we're confident and comfortable enough with their performance on Midlands Creek Trail that this project should go smoothly if they're awarded the contract. As far as start date, contractually, July 25th, I believe, is the contract start date for that particular project. It's a 70 working day contract. And there are liquidated damages that are built into that contract as well, based on a formula that the Nebraska Department of Roads actually generates within their special provisions of their contracts.
Did that answer your question? Okay. Any other council discussion? Please vote on everything except C7.
Eight yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Next is item C7, Resolution R150157, a resolution to approve the third modification to the Keno Lottery Operator Agreement with Players Keno, Inc. Is there a motion to approve Resolution R150157? Motion by Councilman Jaworski, second by Councilwoman Klug. Do we have any proponents? The applicant is here along with their representative. Do you want to go ahead and make a statement?
Patrick Sullivan, attorney for Players Keno. I'm just here to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other proponents? Do we have any opponents? Council discussion, Mr. Mumgard.
I'm going to vote for this contract because I think it's a wise thing to do, but I just wanted to express my disagreement with one small part of it, and it's a disagreement that I've had throughout the time, and it's more philosophical disagreement than anything else, and it certainly is no adverse reflection on Mr. Sullivan or his client. Mr. Bellino has done a wonderful job. But this contract requires the city to contribute 0.5% of gross proceeds toward advertising. Now, that was in the original contract, and I supported that because I saw that under the very tough circumstances that we were switching operators as legitimate for the city, that is the taxpayers, to jump in and assist in getting this contract going. Well, we've had 5 years of increasingly successful work down there, and philosophically I look at it that, well, at some point the taxpayers stop assisting the contractor in his advertising. Because let's face it, this is money that would otherwise be available to assist the taxpayers in some way, to improve the city or to improve their quality of life. And so we are taking 0.5% of the money that would otherwise be available for that purpose and assisting the contractor in advertising. Now, I realize that the theory behind that is that we both benefit from that, so we both help contribute. You know, and that kind of rests upon an idea that we're partners here. Well, I don't see it in that relationship. I look at it and say, well, this is a Keno game that belongs to the city of Papillion, and that is the taxpayers of city of Papillion. It exists for the purpose of benefiting those taxpayers. And we hire an operator. We don't go into partnership with an operator. We hire an operator. Now, we hope we hire the best operator. We hope we hire an operator that does wonderful because, as I said, we both will benefit. But I look at that, well, okay, we've reached the point where we really don't need to assist the operator anymore in that advertising. So that 0.5%, and my preference would be that it drops off and the taxpayers no longer contribute to the advertising. This is a debate that we had in the committee, and I found I certainly was in the minority view on that committee, and I trust that I'm in the minority view of the council now. So I'm just expressing my view for whatever benefit it might have in the future. I trust that there will come a day when this contract is renewed again and is reviewed by people. And so I'm expressing my view that at some point I think that 0.5% that the taxpayers are contributing should drop off. It isn't going to here, and I say that it is a very small part of the contract, and I don't mean my comments in any way to disparage the operator or Mr. Players Keno or to reflect negatively on them, because I'm very impressed with the work that they've done over the last 5 years. I'm extremely impressed with the investment that they've made. Mr. Bellino has done a heck of a job building up that Keno game, and I'm convinced we've picked the right operator. It's just a philosophical difference I have on this one small part of the contract, and I just wanted to express it on the record, and now I will vote for the contract, and we'll see if I'm here the next time this thing comes up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any other council discussion? Yes, sir. Okay. Go ahead.
And I'm guessing it's somewhat in relation to some of the things that Tom said, but is that normal in Keno contracts that we participate in the advertising?
As far as normal, I think I'll look to Ms. Myers to respond. She's the most normal around the table.
Mr. Glover, we did not participate in advertising previously, but we did contribute to a progressive jackpot previously as somewhat of an incentive. In this case, we were asked early on to participate, as Mr. Mumgard mentioned, relative to the new operation. If you look across the metro area, you will see different percentages paid to the contractor as well. Theirs is 13.5% proposed in this contract. That's what it was previously. Some other contracts are receiving the maximum of 14%.
So it kind of seems to me, if you look at our operator now and the operator we had before, maybe it probably wasn't a bad idea to give the half cent for advertising.
Any other council comments?
If I may just comment for a minute.
That's fine.
If there ever comes a day that I write memoirs, I'm going to write this day down, and because this is probably the first time I've only had one issue with Mr. Mumgard. So this is a truly special day for me. It's really 6 half dozen one way or the other. We would have been asking for 14%. We felt that the contribution was working well. We want the city to have ownership and feel that they're participating in this. Your numbers are tremendous and they continue to go up. It's working well, and we just want to continue. Don't break something that's working well.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other council discussion? Please vote. Mr. Jaworski. Thank you.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next is item F1, Resolution R15-0124-03, a resolution to approve one payment to Susan D. White Hamilton Living Trust in a total amount not to exceed $4,785 for the acquisition of a temporary and permanent easement to construct a water transmission main from the Grandview subdivision to 114th Street. Is there a motion to approve Resolution R15-0124-03? Motion by Councilman Stubbe. Second by Councilman Glover. Do we have any proponents? Any opponents? Council discussion? Please vote.
Eight yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Next is item F2, Resolution R15-0155, a resolution to accept the 2015 City of Papillion Capital Improvement Plan. Do we have a motion to approve Resolution R15-0155? Motion by Councilman Stubbe. Second by Councilwoman Klug. Any proponents? Any opponents? Council discussion? Please vote.
Eight yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Next is item F3, Resolution R15-0158, a resolution to approve the First Amendment to the Prairie Hill Subdivision Agreement. Do we have motion to approve Resolution R15-0158? Motion by Councilman Gaines. Second by Councilwoman Klug. Any proponents? Opponents? Council discussion? Please vote.
Eight yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. It's most of the regular agenda items. We had no committee reports. Do we have any comments from the floor? No comments from the floor. We do have a closed session tonight, so go ahead and take any comments from council. I'll go ahead and give a couple of updates from last week, and then I'll do a quick intro, and then we'll go into the closed session. Participated in the Sarpy County Chamber's Young Professionals. They had the Sarpy County mayors come together and give updates on what was going on in Sarpy County. And then Mr. Hoynes, Mr. Sturzma, Mr. Thompson, and I met with Sarpy County Economic Development and Sarpy County themselves about the regional sewer study. So what are we going to do south of the ridge line, and how does that look? Very good cooperative meeting there. And then the Sarpy County leadership group, their leadership development program, they do a bus tour once a year of Sarpy County. So I gave a bus tour of Papillion and what was going on. La Vista Community Foundation is hosting a great event, and it's still going on, so go see it. To remember the fallen, all of the soldiers since 9/11 from Nebraska that were killed are on display at the La Vista Community Foundation. It's a traveling exhibit, and they're hosting it now, and they had an opening reception that I went to. And then starting the tours to second grades, second grade in the school systems when they start introducing government and civics. And I go around to the second grades and start talking about local government and rights and responsibilities and elections. And it's a fun thing to do, and did Rumsey Station this last week. And then thank you to everybody who attended the 9/11 tributes, both the one at Sumter Amphitheater and the one at the fire station. Very good tributes there. And then Mr. Ingberg, myself, some others attended the retirement reception for Bill Schwartzendruber. Everybody remembers he's retiring after, 36 years, Marty? Or Tony, 36 years from the city, and so had a retirement reception for him. And then Mr. Hoynes and I yesterday attended the United Cities meeting, so we're getting down to the point of legislature starting to come back in session, and some of the interim studies are going on. So what are the interim studies we want to be monitoring? Who's going to them? Are we going to testify at them? And so if you look at those schedules or you wonder what's going on, reach out to us and we can give you updates on that. Or if you have ideas of legislation we should be looking at, now would be the time to be shooting those over to us. We do have a closed session tonight, and I know we've got a number of scouts, so I'll do a real quick intro. We typically, everything we do is out into the public so people can watch what we're doing, they can hear the discussion, and they can see the votes. There's a handful of times we can go behind closed doors and talk. It's if there's a pending lawsuit and we need to get into negotiation strategy, or if we're going to be buying real estate and we're going to negotiation strategy. Obviously, you don't want the other side to know your strategy, so we can go behind closed doors to talk strategy, but we can take no votes. And then there's another one or two other small items where we can do it. So the only thing we can talk about back there is what we said we're going to go back for, and then when we take any votes, it has to be out here into the public realm. So we're going to go away for closed session, and if you guys, for your merit badge, want to visit with us, we will be back, and I'd be happy to hang around, and a couple of us might as well. Don't feel an obligation, but if you want to. Mr. Ingberg.
I should mention, if I can just have a second, because many council people may not get the opportunity to go down Halleck Street very often. Just to let you know, this week's been very busy down at Veterans Park, as the mayor knows. Their OPPD's in the process of burying all the power lines, and they've graded out the flat work. Hopefully that'll be done by November 11th. So there's a real beehive activity down there. So if you have gone by, I just wanted to mention that to all of you.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion to go into closed session to protect the public interest, to provide an update on litigation regarding annexation and jurisdictional issues? Motion by Councilman Glover, second by Councilman Jaworski. Do we have any proponents? Any opponents? Any council discussion? Please vote.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
I will restate for the record, the purpose for the closed session is only to discuss litigation regarding annexation and jurisdictional issues. The closed session will include the mayor, the city council, city administrator, assistant city administrator, city attorney, planning director, and city clerk.